We know that NC State football will open the 2025 season against the ECU Pirates. Coach Dave Dorne had a little something extra on his response at Media Day.
You are Locked On Wolfpack, your daily podcast on the NC State Wolfpack, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack Nation? It's time to get locked in with Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Wolfpack your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Our Monday show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College at Monarch Money for 50% off of your first year. Happy Monday to all. As always, I'm Grayson Boone, joined by former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs. Kenton, we continue to inch closer to fall camp, which does begin on Wednesday. The middle of this week will fully begin the 2025 NC State football season. Wanted to tie up a couple loose ends back from ACC kickoff at the end of last week. Obviously, NC State was in attendance on Thursday. The two of us did not hear this quote. I believe it was in the breakout room, not in the main conference room. But when asked about playing the ECU Pirates in game one of this season following the loss in the Military Bowl from last year, he said, and I quote, "I don't want to just win that game. I want to beat the blank out of that team." And then he went on to say, "Not because of them, but because of how we played. I told our team in the locker room, that's the most embarrassed I've ever been as a coach, not because we lost, but because of how we behaved at the end of it. I'm not going to be a part of football like that. So they can change or they can find a new coach because I'm not going to do it anymore. To me, it's disrespectful to the game of football. It's disrespectful to the staff and the fans, and they understand. They understand what this game is about. It's about winning the football game. And if it's my way, it'll be in blowout fashion," unquote. Salty Dave reemerges. And I've had this take before. He should just be Salty Dave all the time. You get the best quotes out of him. You get the most emotion out of him. And if I had to bet, I would bet you get the best response from your team out of Coach Dave Dorne when he has a bit more emotion behind some of his words. Kenton, your thoughts, preliminary thoughts here about Dave Dorne wanting to beat the blank out of ECU at the end of August.
You know, I'm excited about that attitude and mentality. I'm just going to be honest with you. I love a game where it's like, hey, winning ain't enough. We need to do it the right way. We need to dominate this thing from start to finish. I absolutely love this energy from Coach Dorne. And more importantly than anything else, I understand and get where he's coming from in terms of the way that football was played at the end of that game. The things that transpired after that game, absolutely unacceptable from a standpoint of this is who we are as NC State, that those things cannot happen, you know, and now you've got folks from East Carolina chirping and talking to you crazy and all that. Sometimes you got to spank the baby and put them to sleep, you know what I mean? And this is one of those moments where you can't let folks talk to you crazy like this. And then you saw them on neutral turf last time. They're coming to your crib. They're coming to your house, trying to put their feet up on your dining table. Talking about, hey, go get me a drink, shawty. I know you're his wife, whatever. Give me a drink. That's what's happening in your house. And, you know, you can't allow that. You can't allow that, especially from a team that, legitimately speaking, there is group of five, there is power four. There's a difference for a reason there. So, you know, it's a very clear, this is one of those moments where I'm excited that, like you said, Salty Dave is in the building.
In this situation, it does have maybe some more layers than meet the eye. I think also when you walk back to the end of last year, not only did you fight at the end of the ECU game, but the game before that on the road at the Dirty Foot Club, you also had a fight at the end of that one. And although you won that one, I think it's easy to kind of, I don't know, like dismiss the antics because you won and you felt like you did it the right way, to then kind of turn around and do it on the other end of things because you lost. A new picture of the NC State program in that light. And so on that front, I do understand his frustrations there. But obviously the elephant in the room here, you lost to ECU. That is why you should be the most irritated about anything that went on in that game or after the game. the way that we didn't play anywhere close to the way that we should have played in that game. And, even in that fourth quarter, taking a lead with what was like a minute and a half left and allowing ECU to come back and win it there under a minute. It's embarrassing. Everything that took place in that game was embarrassing. First quarter starting out slow to Hollywood Smothers not even playing in the third quarter and then blowing a lead there in the fourth quarter. The cherry on top is getting in a brawl after that. Ugly, ugly, ugly. And so I do love Dave Doeren getting fired up about that, not just because of the antics, but because it should mean something to you. It should mean something to you to get embarrassed by an in-state opponent, whether it's Wake Forest or Duke or East Carolina in this context. You should be embarrassed by the way that looked for the fan base, the team, the program, the university, all of that. But I need that to translate in week 1 of 2025. I need you to follow up on if it's going to be my way, then it's going to be in blowout fashion. It better be, because you can't talk like this now and then maybe squeak out a 1-point win or potentially lose again. This is exactly why, in my mind, that this is the biggest game on the schedule, week 1. If you can't get off the starting block and beat ECU after everything that transpired last year, and this game is in Raleigh, I don't know what else to tell you at that point. So we should be embarrassed. Coach Dave Doeren should be embarrassed, and I want him to be fired up. I think he should just be salty Dave all 12 weeks. Just be salty all the time. You're getting the best response out of your players when you do so. Just turn it up a notch.
This is the only time where a high level of saltiness lowers my blood pressure. You understand?
That's right.
This is the only time that I feel more relaxed and less on edge when I get the full Salty Dave experience. But no, in all seriousness, Coach Doeren, his name is all over the record books here. And yet we don't talk about him. If you were to name the pantheon of great NC State coaches, right? Or if you had to do a Mount Rushmore of NC State coaches, would most fans say that he's on it without some thought to that, without some pause to that? I would say no. I would say no. So with that in mind, something needs to change. And if it takes till year 13 for that change to happen, I'm fine with that. Better late than never. I really and truly don't care. If this is who he is 24/7 going forward, I'm fine with that. I don't care. Honestly, the Salty Dave moniker and all that, cool, great. I don't care about nothing but the performance. I don't care if you're cool, calm, and collected. I don't care if you go full Tony Elliott, where like you rarely ever look like you're excited about anything, like you're just Joe Cool 24/7. Don't care. I want to see wins on that field. I want to see a team that is fired up and ready to go. I want to see a group of guys that don't look like they need to be pumped or primed to make it happen. And I want to see coordinators that are getting out of the way and letting great players make great plays. Like you talked about, Hollywood Smothers not playing at all in the third quarter. Absolute insanity, especially given by that time in the season, he had firmly established himself as like, hey, he's the guy. He's there's no way around that. He's the guy. And yet and still, we were struggling to get him touches. This is, I don't care who has to be there. I don't care if it's Salty Dave. I don't care if it's Spicy Dave. I don't care if it's Dave with some Saison on the side. I don't care if it's Jerk Chicken Dave. Don't matter to me. As long, actually, don't do Jerk Chicken Dave. I don't know what that would look like. Please don't. But the long story short of this is, please just win these ball games. And like you said, in blowout fashion in this one.
It's one thing to say that you want to play fast and play loose and just let it rip, but it's never really feel like they actually do that. And so for this year, I just want to see this team just let it rip. Play as if there is no tomorrow. Every week like that. No more conservative play calling in the second half. No more, well, if we do this, then we got to get to this. No, just let it rip, man. Like, go out there, guns blazing. Let ECU know what type of time you're on from the opening kickoff at the end of August. No tinkering around, no trying to play it safe and just escape with the win. Let your defense win it for you. Blow them out. They're coming to Raleigh. We want to crush them. We all want to crush them. Team, coaches, fan base, all alike. We want to put it on these guys to kick off the 2025 season. Go out and think every single day we have to let it rip. Let it rip. There should be no excuse not to hang at least like 20, 25 plus on them in this opening game. So thought that was an interesting quote from Dave. I wish I heard it live. It must have been said in passing while I was, jumping around the room everywhere else. But had to talk about that here on Monday. I love hearing that type of emotion because you don't always get it from Coach Dorne. I think he's much better served just letting that go at all times. Coming up next, we're going to get into some hot takes for the NC State defense. We're going to give you our hottest takes for what we think they can accomplish in 2025. More on this after a quick word from our sponsors. Our first Monday sponsor is Monarch Money. Do you ever wish managing money just felt a little bit easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in just one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. Some of the most surprising things you'll notice when you start using Monarch, everything you need is in one simple place. If you're sharing money with a partner, all your accounts are in one simple place. Everything is streamlined, everything is easy, and it makes your life easier on the back end. Everything you need to manage is right at your fingertips. Take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's Monarch like the butterfly, money like the money, monarchmoney.com using code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for 50% off of your first year only at Monarch Money. Middle portion of our Monday show, let's get some hot takes off of our chest. We've talked a lot, pretty much extensively about the offense, and we've kind of hinted and hemmed and hawed about how we have some concerns about the NC State defense this year. Had to replace a lot in the secondary. We got some pieces that, I don't know, maybe nobody's talking about. Kenton, I'll let you kick this one off. Give me one of your hottest takes regarding the NC State defense this fall.
My hot take is this team can be and will likely end up in Charlotte if they are top 5 in the conference in takeaways. Now, I know what you're thinking. Kenton, you talked about the pass rush is bad, and the pass rush is always the easiest way to generate takeaways. But hear me out. We have some absolute ball hawks that we bought in, and Johnson from Georgia State and Nelson from North Texas. I think both of those two guys are potential all-conference performers this season. But moreover than that, I think that this is a team that when you look at what they did last year, it was a lack of capitalizing on turnovers that cost us a lot. I'll give you a prime example. Last year, it seemed like we had the exact opposite of the good luck Chuck effect whenever Caden Fordham dropped an interception. Whenever he dropped an interception, you just knew, oh no, the other team is going to score immediately afterwards. And generally, more often than not, it paid off. Why do I say that? I say that to say, if I am a new defensive coordinator coming in, one of my first concerns is, hey, my defenders need to be able to catch. Y'all need to be able to get some peanut punches off on that ball to get it out. And if that is my first focus coming into fall camp and all that, that is something that without all problems withstanding in terms of not having super talented players everywhere on the field, I do think you can make an emphasis or a focus on certain things, and that works out in your favor. Yes, you may get burned at times going for takeaways in terms of interceptions and whatnot, but I really do think that this team, they have the opportunity to be damn good at taking away that football.
I love that take because in large part last year, the turnover margin was just plagued us the entire year. When you have a younger quarterback that's going through the motions, but on the other end, you have a defense that can't get stops and can't force turnovers, eventually you're just going to bleed out. And more or less, that's what you saw happen. This year, I agree with you, Kenton. If the defense can be ball hawking, get to the quarterback, maybe force some fumbles in the backfield or pick off some passes, that does change the complete trajectory of what this team can do. If the offense is as explosive as maybe we hope that it can be, and the defense forces a lot of mistakes on the other end, that will change not just one, but several of these football games. And if they change in the positive fashion, maybe NC State does win 9 to 10 games. Like, it's not that crazy of an idea. It has to happen first. Obviously, the execution is going to come first. But if you can force other teams to make careless mistakes all over the field, you can win football games that maybe you weren't supposed to win. And that goes whether you're playing Pittsburgh or on the road at Notre Dame. If you force Notre Dame's freshman quarterback to throw 3 picks, you can beat Notre Dame on the road. Sometimes that's all it takes. So I like that take a lot. My take is relatively similar. I think NC State can be top 5 in the ACC in sacks this year. And that's coming from a different look on defense. Obviously, DJ Elliott runs that 4-3 hybrid, a bit different than what we're used to with the 3-3-5 with Tony Gibson. If you can create, better advantages for a guy like Brandon Cleveland or Trevally Price on the end, I'm very fascinated to see what a guy like Joseph Adidere from Texas Tech can do. I'm seeing some buzz from Kean Sloan, the guy we picked up from Utah State. Sebastian Harsh was somehow one of our top 10 players on the NCAA football game, transferring in from Wyoming. There's a lot of names, and the defense is just not getting much love. I think there is some validity to that because everyone's focusing on the offense, and that's where the intrigue is going to be. But if the defense is better than we think it is, which is possible, I do think a revamped system in which you're getting Brandon Cleveland not double teamed on the interior, he can get to the quarterback with the absolute best of them. In fact,
for sure.
He's been beating double teams, not just last year, but the year before as well. I'm very interested to see how much quarterback pressure we can get. And I think top 5 is within the realm of possibility. Top 5 in sacks. That's my hottest take.
Top 5 in sacks. That's a really spicy one because edge rushing was a position of concern all offseason. And I think that they did some good things to meaningfully address it. This is a premium position. Edge rushers just don't grow on trees. That's a reality of what we're looking at. But, man, top 5 in the conference. You're going to have some tough competition, but I see the vision on where you're going. I'm not saying I'm ready to drink the Kool-Aid on that hot take, but I see the vision there.
So continuing the conversation here, I'll just go ahead and put you on the spot. Who will lead NC State in interceptions this fall?
I think it'll be Nelson. I think that young man has an uncanny sixth sense for the ball. I look at him and I say to myself, corners like him don't end up at places like North Texas often. That's just the reality. Okay. This is a kid that he may not be a 4-2 guy or anything like that, but he is a guy that understands the game of football. He is a guy that loves running the routes for receivers. He's not afraid to, be physical and mix it up there either. I see this as a young man that really and truly, when that ball is in the air, if he's plastered to a receiver, it truly is a 50-50 ball. So I think he'll be the leader in interceptions.
Leading somebody in interceptions at this point of the summer, it's really just throwing darts at a dartboard. But I think Jamel Johnson, maybe he won't even play that much. That's how much of a dart it truly is. Because when you have a guy like Devon Marshall, probably Brian Nelson on the other side, I don't know. I can't get over the familiarity for Jamel Johnson. I think in this system, Jamel Johnson is my pick. I think he'll lead the Wolfpack in interceptions. Let's flip it to the D-line. Who's going to have the most sacks for NC State?
I think it'll be Brandon Cleveland. I really do. I think that he's a phenomenal pass rusher, and I think that teams seeing him one-on-one, it's a different world. It's a different breed trying to deal with him one-on-one as opposed to when you could dedicate both guards and the center to him because of a 3-man rush. Or even if we do decide to bring a fourth, you can, kind of keep 2 guys in. I think it's going to be real tough for offensive lines to block him this year.
I'm going to go with the Texas Tech transfer. That's Joseph Adidere, and he was one of the last transfer additions we made here in the early stages of summer. I can't wait to see what he can do. He's a guy that didn't get a whole lot of run at Texas Tech, in large part because of injury. He was a sophomore. He did play in all 12 of their games and made a pretty considerable impact on a defense that did struggle a bit for the Red Raiders. So I like Joseph Adidere. I think he's a bit flexible in that he can play kind of that flex linebacker position, which is kind of a new, like a bandit type in the DJ Elliott defense. I'm going to stick with Joseph Adidere. I think he will force a lot of pressure, and he's going to lead the Wolfpack in sacks this fall.
I wouldn't be surprised by him either. He's the most accomplished probably of all of the transfers coming in, so I wouldn't be super shocked if he had that type of impact. And he has the bend, he has the size, all that good stuff. It's just about staying healthy. The best ability is availability, so we hope that Jay can stay healthy and, we can see him produce.
So in the comments now, it's your turn. Hit us with your hottest takes regarding the NC State defense. We'll talk about the offense tomorrow, but the defensive takes in the comment section, let us know your thoughts on those. And coming up next to round out our Monday show, we're going to round out some Mailbag Monday, getting to some of the questions we've seen the last week or so. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Our second Monday sponsor is Gametime. Look, we've all been there. You log on early and you wait forever for the concert tickets to go to sale, maybe some MLB baseball games. And all of this waiting only to lose your spot when you stop paying attention for a brief moment. Well, live music and sporting events should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes into play. Gametime makes getting concert tickets or live sporting event tickets faster and easier than ever before. Prices will actually drop the closer you get to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you ever wonder what your seat will actually look like when you get there, well, Gametime helps with that as well. You get a panoramic seat view in the app so you know exactly what to expect upon arrival. And also with Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay. Zero surprise hidden fees. What you see is what you get. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and live sporting event tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, create an account and use redeem code LOCKEDONCollege. That's LOCKEDONCOLLEGE, Locked On College, for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Last couple minutes of our Monday show. Now time for Mailbag Monday, rounding out some questions that I saw at the end of last week. Here we go. First one comes from Falcon828. He says, I told you guys last year that the players selected for Media Day was a red flag. This year, I'm saying the opposite. I think we're going to have a great season. The attitude is just right, and the talent is under the radar right now. Kenton, your thoughts on our representatives at ACC Kickoff?
I think we had a bunch of great guys representing us at ACC Kickoff. I really and truly do. And we didn't have any first-year transfers in. So that's another thing there in terms of, you had Cleveland, you had Bailey, you had Jolie and Caden Fordham, all guys who had been here for at least a year prior to going. So I fully understand what you're saying there, Falcon 828. And the talent being under the radar, I'd slightly agree. The way that people are acting about CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers, the way people are treating this receiving core, the way people are acting like this offensive line didn't maul people last year is a little bit confusing. But I digress. I think that we are in for a pretty good season and better than what a lot of people on the doom and gloom side are thinking.
I really wish that the common fan could kind of feel the energy that I got off of our four players at the end of last week. To Kenton's point, like the last two seasons in particular, you had a transfer quarterback. Last year it was Grayson McCall. The year before it was Brennan Armstrong. And you could sort of feel that they were two guys that are new to the program, new to the NC State culture. They're still kind of learning the ins and outs of their teammates, learning how to, fully interact with each other. But this year, like CJ Bailey's there and he's cracking jokes with Justin Jolie, and Justin Jolie's telling us that they're rooming together here in Charlotte and they're just having a great time. I've also learned that Caden Fordham's nickname is Biscuit for some reason. Justin Jolie kept calling him Biscuit, and then they would kind of cackle about that. There's a real camaraderie that I think has sort of been missing in some aspects from the last 2 years. And the point about them being under the radar, we've talked at lengths about CJ Bailey as a quarterback in the ACC. Some people see him as the 15th best quarterback, which we know is not true. And other sites, they kind of just don't really know what to do with him. They're either putting him like middle of the pack. They don't quite think he's good enough yet to be at the top, the upper echelon of quarterbacks there. Hollywood Smothers, I can't believe that he's not getting talked about more because he took off at the end of last year. He's a game-changing running back there in the backfield. And I think with a full workload this year, I cannot wait to see what he does with that. We know Justin Jolie is one of the top tight ends in the country. Please, for the love of God, can we turn that guy loose? Because he's going to make other teams pay for it once we do. There's just like a real brotherhood that I could tangibly feel with those four in the room. I really do think they were the perfect representatives for NC State, both two on offense and two on defense.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Next
one comes from Derek Nipper. He says, did you guys get the feeling that Dave Dorne said what he said because he knows that his seat is on fire? The chip on the shoulder should always be there, not just after a disappointing season. If you say we are a blue-collar football team, then each team should be hungry, mean, and they don't overlook anyone at any time. I hope they run the table, but being a realist who sees an underwhelming hire at both coordinator positions, also a down recruiting cycle, even in the transfer portal, for these reasons and others, I'm not sold on more than 6 wins. I pray I'm wrong.
Woo, this is a lot to chew here. This is a lot to chew. I do agree that the chip should always be there. I don't see how you don't have a chip when you don't have a chip. You get what I'm saying? No championship rings, and yet you believe we've arrived or we made it because the media is talking about you. You haven't arrived or won a damn thing until the confetti is dropping. Until you get one of those one-on-one championships where you're saying, oh, man, we're in the college football playoff because we won the ACC. Then I can at least hear you out on, oh, man, we have to prevent this team from resting on their laurels. But what are the laurels? Beating UNC? Beating the Dirty Foot Club is no laurel to rest on. We retired one old weird bill, and now we're going to do it again. But that's not enough. It truly doesn't matter to me. So I think that when I look at this quote or this message rather, in terms of, the chip not always being there, that's just disappointing. And I do agree. I do believe that Wolfpack Nation should be given a product that we can always say the effort is always there. Regardless of whether or not we have the talent, regardless of whether or not it's been a great recruiting cycle, the effort is always there. And there were times last year where it wasn't. So I fully understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think that Coach Doeren said what he said because he thinks his job is at risk. I just think he's genuinely embarrassed by the way that last year went down. And like we've already said, he should be. We all should be, because we talked about ACC championship aspirations in the preseason of last year, and we didn't come within 50 miles of that. To finish 6-6 in the regular season and then play an in-state rival and lose that game to finish 6-7, it's awful. And I really do get the idea that all of them had a horrible taste in their mouth after the way that went down. And again, they should. But I'm also seeing now that they are using that as fuel. They're not coming, over the top about it. They're not coming out complete, reckless in the things that they're saying. But Coach Doeren, although the ECU fans have run wild with that one little line about beating the poop out of them, that's what I want to hear from my head football coach. I want to hear that intensity. I want to hear that was the most embarrassing game I've ever coached, because I'd be hard pressed to find another one. It was that embarrassing. I want to hear the fuel and the fire that should be instilled in this team. It shouldn't have to take an embarrassing loss, because you should bring it every single day. So I don't think he said all that because he thinks his job is at risk. I think he said all that because he was, in fact, terribly embarrassed. And again, you should be. This comes from Red Pack Reed. Says, did you guys see that CFB Kings tweet comparing NC State to Texas A&M? Would be a cool segment. So yes, and I do have the tweet on here.
Yeah.
The similarities between NC State and Texas A&M, dating all the way back to 2014, are staggering. Total wins since 2014: NC State 84, Texas A&M 85. Total wins since 2018: NC State 53, Texas A&M 54. Home record since 2018: NC State is 36-10, Texas A&M 36-10. Ranked finishes since 2018: NC State 2, Texas A&M 2. 8+ win seasons since 2018: NC State 5, Texas A&M 5. Missed bowl games since the year 2018: NC State 1 because of COVID, Texas A&M 1 because of COVID. 9+ win seasons since 2018: NC State 3, Texas A&M 2. Bowl wins in the CFP era since 2014: NC State 3, Texas A&M 4. Bowl appearances since 2014: NC State 9, Texas A&M 9. Weeks ranked in the CFP top 25: NC State 17, Texas A&M 18. So you get the gist of it here. You're looking at two programs that have virtually the exact same results at points between 2018 and then dating all the way back to 2014. Kenton, what do you make of this?
I think it's a very interesting graph, but I think it's one of those things where if you look at a fish close enough, it'll fly, right? I think this is one of those things where there are some eerie similarities, but the reality is Texas A&M is a over-resourced program. They have too much. You literally cannot imagine and fathom bringing out a bigger NIL collective, a better NIL collective than what the Aggies are doing. That is not the case for NC State. It is, in fact, to me, one of the things where I wouldn't say it's the exact opposite, but I would say for the most part, you've been holding steady with less, which is, fairly impressive. So that's pretty much my only problem with this, and the fact that, the statistics are what they are. But, I mean, it's similar, not the same. More like cousins than brother and sister.
We cousins. No, what I think is interesting is that, like, the theory that, like, if you look at numbers long enough, you can make them make sense of whatever, kind of aspect that you want them to. That's kind of the gist I got from that, because what isn't covered in that tweet is that Texas A&M, and I know what you're going to say, they play in the SEC. We play in the ACC. The schedules, love it or hate it, they are different. We don't have to play Georgia. We don't have to play Alabama. We don't have to play Florida, LSU, so on and so forth. And Texas A&M, I think if you gave them our schedule, so for example, if they're playing Wake Forest and Duke and, I don't know, Boston College, it's kind of hard to believe they would have slipped up as many times as maybe we have over the last, 10 plus years. I think the strength of schedule is not covered in there. Kenton kind of also touched on it. The resources, actually, when you consider the resources and the NIL and everything else you have in terms of facilities and all that, this tweet actually makes NC State look very good, because A&M top 5 in budget every single year. Like, those folks down there in College Station, they spend some money. And us in Raleigh, we don't got the cheddar like that. And yet we still have these numbers and results that look fairly similar to theirs. And in fact, like, A&M gets the treatment where they have these portal classes and even recruiting classes that are usually in the top 10, top 15, and they get considerations every year for the CFP and possibly even winning the whole thing. And then they never really get there. They're short every year. And everyone makes a joke that 8-4, like August 4th is National Texas A&M Day, because they go 8-4 every year. I've seen a lot of people make the same joke about NC State and Dave Doeren. So I certainly get the similarities there, but if you really dig into it in terms of resources and strength of schedule, they're a lot more different than you think. However, I do think it's interesting. The treatment that these two programs get is greatly different. That will do it for us here on Monday. As always, thank you all so much for joining us. Be sure to hit that like button, drop your comments in the comment box. Give us your thoughts on Salty Dave re-emerging to discuss the season opener against ECU. Give us your hottest takes for the NC State defense. Do you think they could be top 5 in something defensively this year? If so, let us know. And then finally, anything else you have on your mind, drop that in the comment box as well. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Tuesday for more. And until then, go Pack.
Go Pack.